and welcome to Movies Suck. Today, I'm going to do a no-holds-barred spoiler review of Terminator Dark Fate. Don't expect any kindness this time round because, in all honesty, this movie is a travesty and it defiles and besmirches the good name of Terminator. Okay, maybe it doesn't harm it worse than Genesis, but that is entirely up to speculation and debate, since I'm going to argue that this movie does more damage to the Terminator franchise than every other bad Terminator movie combined. First and foremost, let's have a look at the storyline in this movie. What is that mysterious voice in my head? We don't have to look at it because they already did it twice before in Terminator 1984 and Terminator Judgment Day. Yes, you heard right. They just decided to very lazily rehash the old plot. Person sent from the future to protect someone from the past who is important to resisting the world takeover of machines in the future. Terminator is sent to the future to kill said important person, commence chase where a person in future has to escape from Terminator and is then rescued by the good guy Protector. They run away for a while until a situation arises that allows them to fight back and destroy the Terminator. Savior dies at the end, everyone lives happily ever after. That is, until Judgment Day inevitably happens, since no matter what happens, this can't be stopped. And even if you do stop it, fate will decide that it must happen anyway. Okay, there you have the plot, and here is the bullshit movie you will be watching if you actually choose to sit through it. I did, and I can advise you all, don't. So, the movie opens with Sarah Connor from a scene from Terminator 2. Yay, a good movie. Then a glimpse of miserable future war. Skip back to events just after Terminator 2. Sarah and John are at a bar on a beach, and Sarah's watching John chat up a girl at a bar while he orders drinks. Then, from behind Sarah, we see the ominous form of a T-800 Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 Terminator appear. He's carrying a shotgun, and then he shoots John 3 or 4 times while just swatting Sarah away. Then he walks off and disappears. I know. What the fuck is that about? What the goddamn fucking fuck is that about? Jesus fucking Christ, what a way to start a film. I tried to give it some credit at this point to say, well, maybe they're going to do something interesting with it. Maybe it's not just kill off the most important character. You can see where this went, though. So, cut back to the present, and we see a familiar localized electric storm on a bridge, and the androgynous-looking Protector, Mackenzie Davis, who is naked as usual. Yes, this time it's a she. Females are renowned for their toughness and brutal strength. More on that later. She then beats up some cops that were called after a young couple tried to help her. She then turns on said young couple, and then, sticking to convention, she steals the clothes off of the male because feminism, and then steals their car. Then we find ourselves following some teenage girl who is doing a bit of shopping and going home and mothering her older brother to get him up for work. And just as they leave the apartment block, we see another one of those familiar electrical storms. And out of the sky falls some nerdy-looking computer geek who, it turns out, is actually a Terminator, and quite a polite Terminator at that. Computer geek then visits teenage girl's father and learns that her name is actually Danny, and that she is at work. Quick cut later, and we're at the car manufacturer where Danny and her brother work, but unfortunately her brother is going to get fired. But not Danny, because it is implied that she is just awesome in every possible way, and her brother, well, he's just an idiot, because, well, he's a male, and she's a female, so that makes complete sense in Hollywood logic. Then we see androgynous Protector beating up more defenseless people as she makes her way into the factory. Cut again, and oh look, there's Danny's dad come to give her lunch. Isn't that just so kind of him? But shock, he brings out a gun that he'd been concealing inside the pretend lunch bag that he had created using his apparent morphic ability. And just as he's about to shoot poor little Danny, androgynous Protector appears out of nowhere and shoots Danny's dad, revealing him to be the Terminator. Then Danny and her brother are shepherded away by the androgynous one who says, and I kid you not, come with me if you want to sorry, wrong one, I started to say a good line. I meant, come with me or you'll be dead in 30 seconds. God, how lame is that line. She then beats up the computer geek before they leave to have a chase scene involving a pickup truck being chased by, well, a truck. Where have we seen that before? The scene continues, and the androgynous protector jumps into the bed of the pickup truck and starts throwing rebar at the Terminator, who catches the first one, and then is flummoxed by her throwing two at the same time, so he gets hit by both of them, which managed to go straight through him and through the back of the cab of the truck, instead of, bouncing off, as you would have expected if this had been a T-800. But it's not a T-800, this is a Rev 9, as we heard shortly before they got into the crappiest pickup truck they've ever seen. And the Rev 9 is basically hollow, without the need for all those pesky electronics and armor and stuff. Incidentally, why is it that the pickup truck they chose was so crappy that it actually went faster in reverse than it did forwards? I mean, it was only once they started driving forwards that the Terminator's truck could actually catch up with them. Strange but true. Now, back to the, for want of a better word of it, action. Well, Computer Geek then grabs a rebar sticking through the window, and we see that scene from all the trailers where it oozes through the windscreen onto the bonnet and becomes dun dun dun, a second mimetic polyalloy T-1000 style Terminator. So now we have a skeleton Terminator and we have a T-1000 style Terminator, both together. Blah blah blah, action scene, whatever. Then the poor brother becomes superfluous to the plot, so they kill him off horribly in a fiery car crash. That's what you get for being a man in a feminist movie. Whee! Then Sarah Connor turns up out of nowhere, and don't get me wrong, she has a very cool intro scene where she shoots the T-1000 part of the Rev 9 over the bridge, and then rocket launches the skeleton part and lobs a bomb over the bridge onto the oozy bit of the Rev 9. But then for some reason she decides to go down and have a look at the remains of what she just knocked over the side of the bridge, before which she utters a line that made me cringe so hard I thought it just may be possible to create a black hole in my stomach. She says, "I'll be back." Oh god, it's so bad. Note to self, I really should warn those guys that made the Large Hadron Collider that it is not the only thing that could destroy the universe. The cringe is real, and it's everywhere. At least in this movie. Then the androgynous one and Danny steal Sarah's vehicle and drive off, leaving Sarah to curse and go after them. Back to Danny and the possible hermaphrodite. We learn that Captain Androgynous is an augmented human and that she can only sustain her extra strength and bionic parts for short periods of time and by taking a cocktail of drugs that are fortunately available at any roadside chemist. And what follows is the most boring part of the movie, as Sarah joins back up with the Little and Large, and they all swap stories and act all tough. Sarah mentions that she and John once saved 3 billion lives and explains that everyone leaves a digital footprint these days and that the Terminator can probably access all that digital data. And not long after we see that scene, we see the Terminator in some sort of server center doing just what Sarah said that it would do and finds them through the use of cameras. Then the androgynous one tells us about the state of the future and how she has never heard of Skynet. She's an awful lot more concerned with a super military computer from the future that is trying to wipe out humanity called Legion, and not Skynet. And that she came from the year 2042, which means that Judgment Day just happened later on, and that not Skynet but Legion decide that while not being Skynet and actually being Legion, it should destroy its enemies, which it concluded were humans. So Skynet, I mean Legion, is now responsible for the machines trying to take over the future. I hope that's all nice and clear, because you've probably never heard that before. Then the little girl asks how Sarah came to be on the bridge, so Sarah mentions that she's been receiving texts from an unknown source that tells her when and where a Terminator will appear, so she goes and kills the Terminator. The film mentions that she's killed 2 other Terminators in the past, which is impressive considering it required a Terminator to terminate the T-1000, and I wonder how she fragged them, since the Terminators that appeared must have been T-1000s at least, and the things are virtually indestructible. So, how the hell did she kill them? That would deserve a film all on its own. Then Miss Androgynous 2019 does some future shit with Sarah's phone and finds that the texts have been coming from a place in Texas that, curiously, her commander in the future had tattooed onto her tummy, in a position that would probably require a mirror and a great deal of patience to actually read it, of the exact same location, and told her to go there for help if necessary. Well, that's where they decide to go. across the Mexican border and into the good old US of A. Then, absolutely nothing happens for quite a long time, with the exception of the androgynous one talking about how in the future she is saved by some mysterious unnamed person, and deliberately not mentioning why Danny is so important, and leaving Sarah to believe it is because Danny will one day have an important baby boy who will save the human race. After all, that's what women are for. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Down with the men. Come join us in our progressive stack. Ugh. Jesus. Fucking film. Eventually, Danny's dodgy uncle tries to get them across the border, but sneaky Rev 9 has given the border guards their location and tries to kill Danny with a drone. This fails, but they're carted off to a sorting center for immigrants, which is full of Mexicans in cages, which clearly is not intended to be any kind of political message, I'm sure, nor is the arrival of the geeky Terminator and him killing dozens of border guards was in no way intended to signal anything to the leftist elitist Hollywood crowd. Nothing. Should I do some more throwing up sounds? Fucking shitty film. Then finally they go visit Texas and meet a mild-mannered Terminator named Carl, who happens to be the one from the start who killed John. In the intervening years, Carl has set up a draperies business and likes to spend his evenings looking after his surrogate family that he also happens to have acquired over the years. Though Carl is at pains to explain that it is not a sexual relationship. He just likes looking after battered women and their children. He then agrees to help them in the fight against the nerd, Rev 9. After saying goodbye to his family, they all pile into his van and head off to collect an EMP weapon from a friend of Sarah's who works on a local Air Force base and just happens to be perfectly happy giving away government technology with no explanation except that Sarah has sources. Unfortunately for them, the nerdivator, Rev 9, finds them and attacks them, so they have to leg it to the Air Force base, where Sarah's friend gets them in and then gives them access to a transport plane. They take off, but are chased by the Rev 9, which manages to get aboard the plane's cargo ramp, but he is beaten off by Arnie's T-800, then knocked off the plane by Terminator Carl's drapery van that they had driven onto the plane in the first place. And then we finally get a bit more of Danny's, future story, as the not a man but actually a woman, Grace, tells her that Danny taught her how to survive in the future, and we see a horrible, unconvincing future event where apparently an older but looking exactly the same, but with hardcore rapper hairdo Danny, rescues Grace from a couple of other future survivors. It is extremely cringeworthy, and will leave you pining to see Kyle Reese in those good old future scenes from the original movie, because that shit was so good. Then, Rev 9 appears again, and this time he rams them with his own refueling plane that he must have hijacked from the same Air Force base, and somehow flew even faster than their own plane to catch them up within just a few minutes of when he was knocked off the other plane. I have a feeling some sort of time travel was required for this scene, but maybe I'm just being too pedantic. The Rev 9 crashes his plane into their plane and jumps onto their plane from his plane, and an action scene ensues in which Danny, Sarah, and the androgynous she-male escape from the falling plane using a Humvee. Fortunately, the Humvee is equipped with a parachute, or this would have just been plain stupid. And it would be even stupider and more unlikely if they'd landed on something narrow that had on one side a big lake and on the other like a big cliff-sized drop into a river. Something like, I don't know, a fucking dam, maybe. Now, what was that you say? God of dumb screenwriting? That's exactly what happens? Really? Oh, shit. Yep, you had it right. They land on the top of a dam. The fucking Humvee is like half the length of the dam's width. Whatever. Fucking film. So, Arnie lands on the water and is still fighting with Rev 9, which tears off his arm, curiously the same arm that was torn off in T2. Then Rev 9 buggers off and cut to Sarah and Danny with Miss Androgynous 2019, who are going over the side of the dam in the Humvee. Then they have some sort of underwater battle with the Rev 9 in which bullets suddenly work underwater. Then they tangle up the Rev 9 in the unescapable bounds of an old parachute that happened to be in the Humvee. Once inside, the Rev 9 shows his good human-type side by bargaining with the others to give it Danny and it will not harm them. But Sarah says something tough, and the Rev 9 says, yeah, whatever, and attacks them. And what follows is yet another beatdown for the fearsome Rev 9. and the third known technique for destroying Terminators, which is apparently to push said Terminator into a hydroelectric turbine where it will just get battered to little bits, and obviously mimetic polyalloy disappears. The skeleton part of the Rev 9 actually survived, mostly intact, kinda, and Grace tells Danny to use her power source, because she's human and all. She's supposed to be human? Whatever. Whereupon Danny cuts the power source out of the androgynous one's tummy, and then Grace dies. Sad face. Then Danny beats up the Rev 9 with her bare hands, because, well, she's an empowered woman. Gillette would approve. Then she messes it up and fails, so Arnie distracts the Rev 9 while she sticks Grace's power source in its eye. Arnie then drops down a hole with it and makes sure they both get destroyed when the power source goes critical. His final words are, "For John," as if that makes any of this shit better. Then we see Danny and Sarah spying on Grace as a little girl. Danny says, "I won't let Grace die for me again." And Sarah says, "Well, you better be ready then." And they drive off in an old Jeep, very similar vintage to the one that Sarah drove at the end of the original Terminator movie. Finally, we're there. I thought recounting this movie would be fast, but it was cruelly, horribly slow. It's almost as if it wanted to torture me all over again, with its substandard derivative mundanity. This movie, and movies like it, are the reason this channel is called Movies Suck, because Hollywood gave up on good original movie making a long time ago. And while Hollywood has always had a penchant for remaking old movies, it has at least managed to be original in between the money-grabbing remakes. I don't know if this movie was just a money grab, since with the subject matter of a feminist Terminator movie, surely they knew this was a loser. How could it be anything else? Get woke, go broke isn't just a meaningless phrase. It's clearly shown facts of life that people are not interested in your progressive woke Hollywood agendas. I'm surprised they didn't decide to make Sarah gender fluid or bisexual. It would have been an accurate representation of where Hollywood is going these days, and how little they care about great characters. Now let's roast this turkey, and hopefully we can forget it ever happened. First and foremost, the thing that's driven me mad, and no doubt anyone else who actually gives a shit about this franchise, is the killing of John Connor. I cannot be alone in thinking that this was a horrific way to start the movie, with a horribly callous child murder in front of its mother. This on its own, without any further context, is pretty fucking bad. But it's the killing of one of the most pivotal characters in movie history. Everything happens because of John. Without John, there is no Terminator franchise because there's no reason to ever send a Terminator to the past. And with no Terminator in the past, there can be no Skynet in the future, which means that none of this matters because none of it ever fucking happened. But for some reason, James Cameron couldn't be bothered to think about the Terminator movies he created and give them and the fan the attention to detail that they deserve. No, instead he let some other random guys write some stupid, utter crap that destroys everything that the original two movies created. He didn't read the script and go, "Well, hey guys, John Connor is the most important character, so you can't kill him. I'm sorry." No. What he did was get given the script, glance at it, say, "Yeah, whatever," and then put it aside without even reading it, and carried on with his Avatar movies. Then, when filming started and the director was struggling to make the movie work, Tim gave Cameron a call and said, "Look, Jim, I'm having some trouble with the script. Could you take a look and fix it for me?" So, Cameron spent a little bit of time fixing the script, sometimes right before they shot the scenes. Although he was careful never to turn up on set and, give him a hand. What he did not do was give enough of a shit to actually write it himself, nor fix the fucked up storyline. He just didn't care, because he wasn't directing, and as far as he was concerned, if it did well, then he made money. If not, well, that's not my fault. And as much as I want to point the finger entirely at James Cameron, I can't, because there are a few names involved in the screwing up of the Terminator franchise. Every one of them is listed on IMDb under writers, and it seems likely that the main cause of this travesty is Tim Miller, the director, who didn't even want to include any kind of fan service within the movie. Instead, what he did was just rip off Terminator 2 in every way he could manage, except that he couldn't rip off the class of the film. He couldn't rip off that je ne sais quoi, that quality that made that a really great film, because he's a hack. Anyway, before I get distracted by pointing out what an utterly pathetic, useless director Tim Miller is, I want to get back to killing off John Connor because, and here's the crux of the matter, It was impossible to kill him off in this movie. The reason for that is because during this movie, we discovered that Judgment Day was stopped. Skynet was never created. So the consequences of this are so simple that even a layman like Tim Miller should have understood. No Skynet means no Judgment Day, means no Terminators, means no Terminator 1984. The original Terminator movie never happened. So there is no way a random Terminator existed to even kill John Connor. There would be no son of Sarah and Kyle to become the leader of the Resistance because Kyle was never sent back in time. No Skynet, no Kyle Reese. At least not the Kyle we knew. Everything was reset by the admission that Judgment Day was stopped. Yes, they claim that a new Skynet was created, but that doesn't matter to Sarah since that new Skynet was not obsessed with John Connor. He never existed. This movie makes no sense whatsoever. I don't even need to go into all the other stupid bits of this movie because they are all made entirely non-existently pointless. And now that I have finished pointing out how this movie doesn't exist, let's have a look at the people that are in this movie that doesn't exist. Well, first we have Natalia Reyes as Dani. She's a cutesy little girl who looks like she probably collects unicorns and dreams about having the perfect wedding while working as a waitress. Is she convincing as the savior of the world? No. She's not, even when they try to make her look tough with rapper hairstyle. It just looks very forced and uncomfortable. Like when you see two adult men trying to have a fight and neither one has ever hit someone before. And you just cringe so badly and feel just ashamed of your own kind. What she shouldn't be doing is attempting to survive the apocalypse, all on her own, as she wouldn't last a minute in a serious situation. And while I don't know how mentally strong she is, I can safely say that she is physically just a regular little girl. Mackenzie Davis did very well in the role of Saviour, or at least as well as you could hope, considering. But while she did okay in her role, it was not even close to believable that she could beat a Terminator around the way she did. She is tall and scrawny and androgynous, but appearing slightly man-like. Does not a man make? And I'm sure that if you had the option of a big strong guy to beef up into a cyborg, and a scrawny weak little guy, you would choose the big strong guy. Since that way, you could fit bigger motors, heavier electronics, more armor, anything into that body. You could make a much more powerful cyborg, which surely would be a good thing when it comes to fighting a Terminator. I mean, surely that's why the original Terminator was a huge muscly guy, because it's easier to hide a big metal skeleton in a big muscly guy. You can be bigger and stronger than a small average person. Same goes for cyborgs. Then we have Gabriel Luna as the Rev 9, and yet again, he did okay with what he was given, and if what was required was a quite likeable Terminator with a bit of personality, then he did great. But what we wanted was an intimidating force of fucking destruction, hell-bent on killing his target and making you feel both uneasy and tense whenever he is on screen. We got that in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, but here, what we got was an average guy who could blend in just about anywhere, which, yes, makes a great assassin, but does not make a great film, which is what Cameron said about casting Arnold Schwarzenegger when he made him the original Terminator. And the return of the vaunted Linda Hamilton as one of the greatest non-superpowered heroines. And it is great to see her back in the Terminator movie, though I wish that movie had been Terminator 3, as she would have looked a lot better back then, and had a lot more physicality. If only they'd given her a decent part and made an almost completely different movie, Terminator 3 would have been good. But in Dark Fate, she's just underused, and apart from her entrance, where she kicks the Rev 9's ass, she doesn't have much to do, or much reason to be there. If only they'd forgone the Grace character, that cyborg, for Sarah, and then at least we would have had something great to watch. I mean, seeing old Sarah Connor pushing herself to her limits to protect Dani, that would have been so cool. But with Grace, she's just superfluous to the plot. And finally, the man without whom the Terminator would have been far poorer and may not have spawned even one sequel, let alone 5, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Far past his prime, but not past playing a robot from the future that has been sent to the past to either protect or eliminate John Connor. Unfortunately, while it is amusing in places, it's just a bit sad to see him being forced into this strange emotional style role, where he's attempting to atone for killing John, which is just way off base for a Terminator to be doing. And the backstory they came up with to explain it is just so contrived and ridiculous. And besides, between him and Sarah, there was just no reason for Grace to be there. Sarah and Carl, the T-800, would have been awesome protectors for Danny. That could have made a great film. Grace is just, it's like a cog binding up the wheels. It just doesn't need to be there. So, in conclusion, this may be a Terminator movie, but it's not the Terminator movie you are looking for. It's too light, filmed mostly in the day. It's too low on physical consequences. The Terminator is less imposing and scary than Chucky from Child's Play. And worst of all, it destroys the original two good movies. It kills John Connor. It makes Sarah Connor a grumpy old lady. It makes Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator into a cucked has-been that's no longer relevant. And as if those scandals weren't bad enough, it becomes a feminist wet dream of how the Terminator should have been, by getting rid of all those pesky men and replacing them. Sarah Connor was a bright spot in the build-up to this movie, but by the time it came out, we all knew where we stood. We knew where James Cameron stood. And we never, ever want to see where Tim Miller stands ever again. The man is a hack, and like Jar Jar Abrams and Rian Johnson, should never be allowed near a much-loved franchise ever again. This is Movie Suck, wishing that one day movies will be free of the woke, left-wing biased Hollywood agenda. Signing out. Leave a like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.